Pakistan, as you have well noted, has been allocated the chairmanship of three of these committees. That includes the Taliban Sanctions Committee also.
So how international community would be convinced that Pakistan is a victim of terrorism?
The terrorist incidents in Pakistan have remarkably gone up with increased number of casualties in recent months. It's a proof that this is happening on a big scale and with the direct support of India. So we have been bringing this to the attention of the international community.
Don't you think Pakistan's entry into the vice chair of the counterterrorism committee is a diplomatic setback to India, which tried its level best to diplomatically isolate Pakistan?
While we are now in the Security Council, and I mean, we are happy that there is this recognition.
India has been quite disrespectful to United Nations. All resolution, it has been disrespectful to United Nations, even military observer group in India and Pakistan.
A consistent track record of violating international law, of disrespect for the resolutions of the UN Security Council, a complete denial of the important role that the UN and the Security Council have, for example, with regard to the issue of Jammu and Kashmir.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hello and welcome to Program Inside in Videos English. Dear viewers, at diplomatic level, at the level of United Nations, in a significant development, Pakistan has been appointed in some of the most important committees of United Nations Security Council. In first, under Resolution 1988, Pakistan has been appointed as chair of the committee which oversees the implementation of sanctions against Taliban regime. In another important development within the United Nations Security Council system, Pakistan has also been appointed as vice chair of United Nations Counter-Terrorism Committee, which is a very, very important forum, and that also deals with the UN Security Council's efforts, measures, and all such steps which are related to the counterterrorism. Then, in addition to this, Pakistan will also serve as co-chair of the important subsidiary bodies, the Informal Working Group on Documentation and newly formed Working Group on Sanctions. In today's conversation, we will also discuss recently Pakistan's high-profile delegation led by former Foreign Minister Bilawal Bhutto Zardari, who is also chairman of Pakistan People's Party, and having some of the cabinet members in his delegation also held meeting with the top United Nations official. This was basically meant to project Pakistan's narrative in last month's conflict between Pakistan and India, to counter Indian narrative, to tell to the world that Pakistan believes on peace, Pakistan believes on peace and security, Pakistan believes on counter-terrorism efforts, and whatever is propaganda by India against Pakistan, that is false. And I hope that it went very well. To discuss this all and other related UN-related issues, including the July presidency of Pakistan of the United Nations Security Council, we are fortunate to have with us Pakistan's permanent representative to the United Nations, Ambassador Asim Iftikhar Ahmed Saab. Ambassador Asim Saab, very warm welcome to Program Inside in Videos English.
Thank you so much, Mateen Saab. Thank you.
So it was a short while ago, I've also seen a tweet by Prime Minister of Pakistan greeting Pakistan that Pakistan got into three of the United Nations Security Council committees. One is, of course, established under 1988 resolution, and this particular committee oversees implementation of sanctions against Taliban regime in Afghanistan. Please share with us that where these sanctions stands now, and in the backdrop of recent high-level meetings between Pakistan, China, and of course Afghanistan. So there was a trilateral meeting recently, and there was significant progress made as far as several issues, including counterterrorism, is concerned. So please share your thoughts that what is the status of sanctions against Taliban regime in Afghanistan? And we heard that shortly, maybe in June or next month, the committee will meet and review the sanctions. Ambassador Asim Saab.
Thank you so much, Mateen Saab. Thank you for having me in your program.
Pleasure.
Uh,
Pleasure.
these announcements, the decision that the Security Council members have taken with regard to the allocation of the chairs and vice chairs of the council's subsidiary bodies. We call them subsidiary bodies, though they include various sanctions committees and other working groups. Let me say that all of these subsidiary bodies, the sanctions committees and working groups, are important in their own right. And Pakistan, as you have well noted, has been allocated the chairmanship of three of these committees. That includes the Taliban Sanctions Committee also. We have the working group on working methods that relates to the working methods of the Security Council, which is a very important subject here at the UN. And then there is a new working group, informal working group, that will deal with the overall issue of sanctions and delistings in the UN. And apart from that, we have the vice chair of the CTC.
Exactly.
Which all of these are very important. And coming especially at a time when we are back in the council and there is a lot of discussion, I think this is a testimony to Pakistan's long-standing and constructive role in the UN over the years in the Security Council, because this is not just one-off. So this shows that the international community, the other members of the Security Council, have that confidence, have that trust in the ability of Pakistan, in the track record of Pakistan of bringing that constructive contribution to the discussions in these committees. So we will play our role. I can tell you that it will continue to be a positive and constructive role as a chair or vice chair of these committees. But let me also say that all members of the Security Council are members of all these subsidiary bodies. So we will be very active in the other subsidiary bodies and committees of the Security Council
Where
as well.
Pakistan is as a member, of course.
Yes.
This specifically, please highlight these. Currently, the Taliban are under still United Nations sanctions, and the next meeting of the committee is expected to take place within a month. What do you think the sanctions are going to be reviewed? The United Nations continuously has been monitoring situation in Afghanistan. Taliban regime has introduced some of the toughest measures, including denial of education to the girls, to the women, and there have been also sanctions and restrictions on art, culture, and different things, which definitely harm a progressive society.
These sanctions, like any other sanctions, remain constantly under review, and this is the purpose of having these sanctions. They're not going to be there forever, but there is a continuous review. But if you look at the structure of the sanctions, it's about imposing the travel bans and other financial
measures, exactly.
And one of the basic purposes of the committee is to ensure that those restrictions are in place. For example, if any people who are on the list, they have to travel, there has to be a request and an authorization from these committees. So that's the kind of work that the committee undertakes, and there is a natural process of review also. And some of the issues that you mentioned, they are part of the overall discussion vis-a-vis the international community's approach towards Afghanistan. There is an issue of terrorism. There is the issue of human rights, especially women and girls' rights. There is an issue of the inclusive nature of the government. These were common expectations of the international community vis-a-vis the Taliban government, and there is ongoing discussion as to what is the best way in which the international community can advance these objectives, and also what would be the ways in which the situation can be normalized.
As you mentioned briefly, that terrorism is also a source of concern for Pakistan, the terrorism which emanates from Afghanistan. There is Fitna al Hindustan, which operates in Balochistan, and Fitna al Khawarij, which operates in Pakistan's Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. And in the recent high level briefings, Pakistani military chief spokesperson has made it quite clear that these two, Fitna al Hindustan and Fitna al Khawarij, get substantial support from Indian intelligence agencies to their handlers and facilitators in Afghanistan. So, how you, as a Pakistan's ambassador, would convince definitely international community that the Pakistan is affected due to this particular funding, supporting of the terrorists which are based in Afghanistan. They are providing military support, financial support to these two, Fitna al Hindustan and Fitna al Khawarij in KP and Balochistan. And currently, Pakistan is, of course, facing this war on terror in both these provinces. So, how international community would be convinced that Pakistan is a victim of terrorism?
Yeah, this is a long-standing effort. This has been ongoing for quite some time. The thing is that there is now, increased awareness. There is acknowledgement that there are these groups that are being supported from across the border, sometimes directly, sometimes, they act as proxies of our
True.
neighbor. And the fact that the terrorist incidents in Pakistan have remarkably gone up with increased number of casualties in recent months, it's a proof that this is happening on a big scale and with the direct support of India. So we have been bringing this to the attention of the international community in the past, and we have intensified this effort. We have shared information, we have shared dossiers with the members of the Security Council, with the UN Secretariat, and there is ongoing interaction with the monitoring team of the Al Qaeda and ISIS Sanctions Committee. So this is an effort that is continuing. The high-level delegation that was here in New York earlier this week, for them also this was an opportunity to inform our interlocutors as to what are the real problems as far as terrorism in our region is concerned, and how Pakistan is faced with this onslaught of terrorism that is directly supported by our neighbor. And we have shared that perspective. There is a great deal of understanding of what Pakistan is saying, because this is backed by evidence. This is backed by information that is available. This is backed by the transparency with which Pakistan is sharing this information with our interlocutors. So there is a difference between what Pakistan is saying and what India tries to convey without any evidence, without any investigations into particular incidents.
One quick question that I will specifically discuss Pakistan's appointment as vice chair of counterterrorism. What is the current status of Afghan Taliban's representation into United Nations system since they came into power in August 2021? Has UN recognized them, or they are yet to be recognized?
No, it's it's a state of a limbo. Actually, with the reduced status, the basically the representative of the previous government is in place
In
till
place.
till a new arrangement
Is made.
takes shape. But with reduced level of representation, for example, then they cannot make a statement in the high-level plenary that takes place in September. But they are there, they can participate in some of the other formats and meetings that take place. I believe that this will be this kind of unnatural situation that exists will need to be normalized when things proceed on how the Afghan situation will be taken forward by the international community.
Well, as far as Pakistan's appointment as vice chair of the UN Security Council Counterterrorism Committee in over the last 1.5 months, whatever we have witnessed, India has not only launched raids against Pakistan, but it leveled baseless allegation that Pakistan supports militancy, terrorism, and whatnot. So, in the backdrop of that, as you said, that it is a great trust by the UN Security Council on Pakistan's ability in counter-terrorism. Don't you think Pakistan's entry into the vice chair of the counterterrorism committee is a diplomatic setback to India, which tried its level best to diplomatically isolate Pakistan?
Well, I personally am not in the business of, claiming victories or, saying it's a setback to this country or the other. It is for the members of the international community. It is for,
To see and
very responsible members of the media like you are to make those judgments. What I can tell you is that this is a recognition of Pakistan's
exactly.
efforts. This is a recognition of Pakistan's diplomatic stature. This is a clear recognition of Pakistan's role in the global community's efforts to counter terrorism. As you know that, and this role has brought a lot of success to global efforts in counterterrorism, and at a great cost for Pakistan. The enormous sacrifices in terms of the lives lost, the losses to the economy. So this is all coming together, I think, while we are now in the Security Council. And we are happy that, there is this recognition and a clear, expression of confidence in Pakistan's abilities and role.
So, when the next meeting of this committee is expected, this counterterrorism committee?
But these have just been, decided,
Name.
which is so there is a process, and all of these committees actually are going to organize their respective meetings in the coming weeks. Yeah.
So this is indeed a great achievement, as you said. It's recognition by the international community. Coming to this, Pakistan's expected to be the boss or get the presidency of UN Security Council for 1 month in July 2025. I mean this year. So what preparations are being made to project Pakistan as a soft state, to project Pakistan's true narrative, to project Pakistan's some of the hard facts about security and counterterrorism in the region? On one side, we are facing these proxies, as you also mentioned, from Indian side. On the other side, we are getting these attacks emanating from Afghanistan. So terrorism remains key concern. So what will be our priority? And we heard that there is going to be a high-level segment by Pakistan's mission, and of course, there are your efforts are still underway. So share your perspective that about preparations Pakistan is making to make this high-level segment most successful one.
Thank you. Yes, Pakistan will have the rotating monthly presidency of the Security Council next month, that is July. And as you know, in every month's programs, there are meetings that are in any case scheduled. So those are regular meetings in terms of briefings or open meetings or consultations. So there is a program that is prepared by the presidency in consultation with other council members, and we are in the process of doing that. So a fuller information will be made available as we approach closer to July. But I can tell you that Pakistan will utilize its presidency to highlight some of the core objectives that we set for ourselves as a member of the Security Council. So we are going to focus on the the big issues, the real issues that relate to the maintenance of international peace and security. If you look at the past occasions in which Pakistan has presided over the Security Council, we have always focused on some of the core issues that relate to the council's charter mandated responsibility for the maintenance of international peace and security. So there is peacekeeping, there is peace building, there is this special emphasis on peaceful settlement of disputes in accordance with the charter. So we focus a lot on conflict prevention. We focus a lot on conflict resolution. So these are going to be, the core issues on which there will be attention during Pakistan's, presidency next month. And like all presidencies, we focus on one or two particular themes as highlights of the presidency. And I can tell you that our theme will be in line with some of the priorities that I have just enumerated, with a special focus on peaceful settlement of disputes. This is something that is really very current at the United Nations. There are a lot of member states. You look at the media, you look at the civil society, the think tank, that talking of the great need for the UN and the Security Council to focus a bit more on how actually the Security Council can play its role in resolving conflicts, in bringing an end to wars and conflicts, and making the world a more safer place. So this will be a focus. Obviously, there will also be in July an open debate on the Palestinian issue, which remains very current. Later this month, there is going to be an international conference at the General Assembly on Palestine and the two-state solution. This is going to be co-chaired by France and Saudi Arabia. So there will be outcomes from this conference, and we are expecting concrete results and outcomes with regard to the future of Palestine, with regards to its statehood, with regards to its full membership of the UN. So there will be an opportunity once again in July, when we have the presidency of the Council, to have a fuller discussion in the wake of this conference that will take place from 17th to 20th of June this month. So these are some of the issues that we are focusing, apart from other discussions that we are envisaging, including on peacekeeping, cooperation with regional organizations, etc.
Mm-hmm. Excellency, you said that peace, security, and these all things, it will be also Pakistan's priority during July segment at the United Nations Security Council. If we look into the Indian Indian track record, India has been quite disrespectful to United Nations. All resolution, it has been disrespectful to United Nations, even military observer group in India and Pakistan, and never permitted that group to visit and see the violations along with the line of control, the human rights violation. So how you see the India's track record of completely creating hurdles, obstructions in the maintenance of peace and security, not only in South Asia, globally, but our concern is, of course, on Jammu and Kashmir and Pakistan. So how you see the Indian this negative attitude of disrespect in all UN resolution. And in recent India-Pakistan conflict, the United Nations Secretary General also spoke to Pakistani Prime Minister and also to the Indian Prime Minister and tried his level best to persuade India not to attack. But despite these all things, India then finally attacked Pakistan, but got a befitting response. Your thoughts?
Well, Mateen sir, actually, you have put up a question and you have summarized the response yourself. I think this is the main difference, actually, between the approach of India and Pakistan. So, on one hand, you see a consistent track record of violating international law, of disrespect for the resolutions of the UN Security Council, a complete denial of the important role that the UN and the Security Council have, for example, with regard to the issue of Jammu and Kashmir. And at every step, as we also saw in this the recent the conflict between India and Pakistan, at every step of the escalation ladder, you saw from the Indian side there was a violation of international law, a violation of the UN Charter. And on the other hand, you see Pakistan that is fully engaged with the international community, that has this trust that it brings to the value of multilateralism and the United Nations and the UN Security Council, and the respect that we have for international law and the resolutions of the Security Council. So there is this very stark difference in the approaches of our two countries, and this is being noticed. Our friends in the international community, they note that, for example, when Pakistan starts its diplomatic offensive in the wake of this conflict, we started at the seat of the UN. We started from the United Nations. We engaged with the top leadership of the UN, including the Secretary General, the President of the General Assembly, the President of the Security Council, and so we bring this with that level of trust that we have in this organization, in the United Nations, in the value of multilateralism, which is the venue that enables us to project our perspective to the wider international community, and in an open and transparent setting. So, and you saw that our neighbor, they completely wanted to avoid coming to the UN, to have that kind of open and transparent engagement. So that explains in a way the difference in approach that is there between India and Pakistan. And it applies to many other things. It applies to how the two countries are tackling the issue of terrorism that confronts us. In what way are you trying to tackle this problem of terrorism within the confines of international law, as Pakistan has always done, or you want to exploit this for your political purposes, and for trying to create as they call new norm by leveling allegations against another country, and then committing acts of aggression again in violation of international law. So there is this stark difference, and I can tell you that there is a great deal of understanding among
at the UN.
Yes.
At the UN. Yes, please. There is a great deal of understanding about Pakistan's
what Pakistan brought through this high level delegation to the UN. I mean, this
This is
difference.
what my next question is, that Pakistan's high-level delegation held also meeting with the UN Secretary General, and we have seen some of the video clips and statements. Separate meetings were arranged with the ambassadors of the permanent members at the United Nations Security Council, and scores of other meetings, including a press interaction. So, how do you think Pakistani delegation was able to convince the media based at United Nations and the UN top leadership, including Secretary General Antonio Guterres, so share more openly how the leadership at the United Nations were convinced that Pakistan stood vindicated in this entire conflict, and it was India which always tried to implicate Pakistan into any incident that take place in India, particularly terrorism-related incident.
Yes, thank you. So this delegation that was led by Mr. Bilawal Bhutto Zardari and included some of the very senior figures from Pakistan. I can tell you that it was very effective. It conveyed Pakistan's perspective on the whole range of issues, surrounding this recent conflict with India and the aftermath, in a very open and frank and transparent way with the top UN leadership. That, as you mentioned, also included the UN Secretary General, the President of the Security Council, the General Assembly. We had meetings with the permanent members of the council. We have a collective meeting with the elected 10 members of the Security Council. We had an extensive exchange with the UN Correspondents Association. And the key message, and here again you can draw the comparison. The Indian delegations are going around with one point agenda, that is to that is on terrorism, and without any evidence, without any investigations on that incident, just to blame Pakistan. And no one is buying that. Pakistan has come, and particularly at the UN, our message, the key message was that we are here uh, with this objective of peace with responsibility. So, and that shows that Pakistan not only responded in a very responsible way to Indian aggression and provocations in this particular incident, but that has been our track record over the years. So whether it was response to India's aggression, whether it was about the respect for international law, and whether it was about the Indus Water Treaty, that once again that shows the disrespect that India has not only towards international law but towards the treaty obligations that every country has. So we provided that perspective, and then we put the whole thing in the bigger frame of South Asia, where these things are related to the outstanding issues, the core issues between India and Pakistan. So there was a lot of spotlight on the Jammu and Kashmir dispute, for example. So all in all, I can say that ours was a broader message. It was a message of peace with responsibility. It was a message of Pakistan's commitment to counter-terrorism. It was a message of Pakistan's adherence to international law and UN Security Council resolutions and UN Charter. And I think it was also a message of Pakistan's readiness and availability to engage, in a dialogue that would lead to, the two countries in a responsible manner and in a serious, credible manner to address their outstanding issues, and the core of which is the Jammu and Kashmir dispute.
Excellency, that's very correct, very precise. You said Pakistan's message was for peace, Pakistan's message for countering terrorism. But over last 1 month, you also have been monitoring the statements of Indian political and military leadership, including their foreign minister, defense minister, particularly Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Rajasthan, really, in Gujarat, really, in Bihar, really, and a number of other places. And their defense minister while visiting Srinagar. So quite provocative statements, threatening statements. Eat bread, otherwise bullet is available. That was one of the most nasty message directed at Pakistani youth. So keeping in view such hostile environment in India, do you fear that India could likely to make another aggression against Pakistan?
Well, these are not just nasty messages. They are, on the one hand, they're playing to the domestic gallery in the context of India's domestic politics. You know that the entire international community is now well aware of how Indian politics has been saffronized, and the Hindutva, and the way they try to use such incidents and Pakistan bashing and Muslim bashing to get votes in elections. This is one side of the story, but it's important to note how the international community is taking, and perceiving these statements. This is what the delegation highlighted these statements that we saw earlier after the ceasefire, when the Indian Prime Minister said that this is just a pause and this is not the end, uh,
Mm. And
of
Operation Sindoor is continuing, exactly.
and these statements are continuing. This is totally irresponsible and very violent rhetoric that is coming from the international community that we raised in our interactions with our interlocutors, and there was a great deal of concern. So we have basically, while conveying our message of peace with responsibility, we have drawn attention of the members of the international community and the United Nations to what is actually happening and what kind of statements are coming out of India at very top level that need to be seen with concern. And that's why we have alerted the international community that and especially the UN, that they should remain seized of this situation. There should be continued attention. There should be pressure on India to change its behavior. There should be more pressure that should be brought to bear on India to stop this rhetoric, to show more responsibility, and also to respond to the calls by the international community uh, that there is this need for engagement and dialogue and diplomacy between the two countries, to address the outstanding issues.
Exactly, whatever you said, it was said by our Prime Minister in an Independence Day reception hosted by United States Embassy in Islamabad, and urged the Americans to convince India to sit with Pakistan for dialogue. Are you hopeful that India will definitely listen to America's engagement, or mediation, or intervention for dialogue between Pakistan and India?
Yeah, this is what I just said, and this has been our position. And I think the ball is clearly on the on India's court. They have to show that level of responsibility and maturity, in engaging with Pakistan. And all issues, I would say, it has to be a comprehensive dialogue and not just one issue or two issues. And that is the way forward. This is a common message from the members of the international community, that the two countries need to sit down, across the table, and have that frank dialogue that can, move us forward, that can normalize the relationship. And Pakistan is all for it. We're not begging for it, but this is very imperative. If we want to see peace and stability in South Asia, this kind of engagement is absolutely necessary. Otherwise, we will continue to see this instability, Kashmir issue unresolved, and from time to time back to a situation of conflict. And as we have seen in the recent conflict, I, I mean, and we have been saying this, that although we have the ceasefire, it's a very sensitive and very delicate situation. And the way it happened and the way we came out of it, it has left South Asia in terms of future less secure. So we think that the international community needs to seriously consider. It's not just that this crisis escalated in some way. More than the crisis, it is, I mean, more dangerous than that is the thinking that was there on the Indian side
Exactly.
that led two countries like India and Pakistan, and in a nuclear environment, to such a situation where we were on the brink and then had to be brought back. So this is something that we believe that the international community should be paying more attention to going forward.
Time is end. Lastly, a lot has been said on Indus Water Treaty. Sitting at United Nations and sitting in UN Security Council, any significant development Pakistan has made to apprise the international bodies, Security Council, UN, because water is Pakistan's lifeline. Pakistani military and political leadership has already made it clear if India stops, blocks, it will be another act of aggression. So, at the UN level, any initiative to sensitize UN system that what India is doing to block
Yes.
Pakistan. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. And this was one of the main issues, main subjects that was raised by the high-level delegation in all of our meetings. And I can
Mhm.
tell you very briefly that the response was overwhelming. And from the
By the
secretary,
UN.
yeah, from
Mhm.
the secretary general to the president of the assembly, the council members, the OIC members, the interest in the media. So everyone recognizes the
Mhm.
validity of what Pakistan is saying. That the this decision by India is totally illegal. It's in violation of international law. It's in violation of the treaty itself. It is setting a very dangerous precedent which the
Mhm.
international community cannot accept. So in brief, I can tell you that there was a lot of receptivity and understanding
Mhm.
on what Pakistan conveyed with regards to IWT, and there is this expectation that this step will be reversed by India, and this will be very important. If we are going to have this dialogue with India. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Despite your busy schedule, you spoke on some of the very, very strategically important issues regarding peace, security, and recent India Pakistan conflict. Dear viewers, till our next program, goodbye and Khuda Hafiz.
Thank you very much.